This is an open letter to my pink skin friends. My pink skin friends in North America and Western Europe. Love you, man. Here's the thing. There is a very well-known scene in the movie business, in this storytelling business that we humans, you humans, have. You have this storytelling business. And the storytelling business that you really like, there is this scene in this movie that whoever has seen it has remembered. The movie was Godfather, the first one and the first scene. A man demanding, asking, begging the godfather of an Italian mafia family in New York, begging the head of this mafia family for justice, because I guess his daughter was raped, or whoever had sex with her then left her, had sex with her with the promise of a marriage then left her. So he wanted his knees broken because the justice system didn't give a fuck about virginity. Oh, what happened? Oh, he was virgin and you made a promise, but now you're not keeping your promise and my daughter is no longer virgin. Anyway, that was the idea, the old world of thinking. The idea was that if the society around you doesn't bring you justice based on your culture, in that case it was based on their culture, and the culture that, okay, if you touch my daughter, you better marry her. So in their view, if the culture, if the society around them doesn't bring them justice the way they see it, you see, their culture is how they see it. Our culture dictates us how we see things. And our culture is basically our culture of each individual people and groups of people and countries. Their culture is basically from where they're sitting. What benefits me and what does me harm. That's a big part of how we decide justice, how we decide right from wrong. Justice is they say beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Justice is also in the eyes of the beholder. Those who hold that eye have to see that justice has been done. And as far as that, that shoemaker or widget maker in Godfather was concerned, there was an injustice that was done to her daughter. So he comes to the extrajudicial means of attaining justice, such as a militia family or a mob family. Mob, militia, they're both armed and violent. So there's not much that difference between the mob and the militia. That's why you know uh, those RICO laws can be applied just as easily to the militia as they can be applied to the mob, because it's a group of violent men taking arms, violent force, extrajudicial violent force in the society in order to achieve their preferred means, their preferred objective. So there's not that much difference between a mob and a militia. They both perform a function in the society, and they both try to seek justice where, from their perspective, their people's perspective, justice has not been served, and the legal ways of seeking justice is not possible because those who are making the laws don't have the same values as you, don't have the same the same profits as you. They don't profit. You're sitting at the opposite side of the table. The more they profit they make, the less bread you bake. The more profit they make, the less bread you make, and the more profit you make, the less bread they make. So most of the time, humanity is in conflict over bread. Who's getting the bread buttered, basically? As you can get as simple as that. So the guy, the hero of the mob family in New York, is expected to give justice to its members, to its people it proclaims to protect, to provide them with justice from their side of the table. You know, what benefits them, provides them justice in order to, you know, for their people, because they are their people. So yeah, Italian mob families, you couldn't separate them from the Italian society in New York. You couldn't. Just like Italian mob families, you can't separate them from fucking Italy. I'm sure the Spanish have the same set of, you know, mob families. It's just Italians, because of, you know, Mario Punzo or whatever his name was, they became well known. But the Russian mafia families, the Spanish mafia families, the whole fucking British island is one big mafia family, from their king on down. Folks, we are all a kind of mafia family. It's like where you are, where you're sitting determines which side your bread is buttered on. So where you're sitting, you want to win. Now, whether you're sitting on the red side or the blue side or the black side or the white side, you want your side to win so you can get more bread. That goes without saying. That's, you know, this is very, you know, nature dependent, very animalistic of any, you know, even trees compete with each other in winning. I mean, it's not even about animals. Even trees, one tree goes on top of the other tree and spreads out, and the tree below it just dies because there is no light, and, you know, it just grows up and dies as a sapling. Thousands of saplings die under a big tree because the big tree who produced the saplings, you know, is not allowing them to grow because he got all the sun. Anyway, the point is this: it's in nature. It is fighting, greeding and fighting over resources. It starts from the fucking trees. So it's nothing new. It's just, as human beings, if the law would have provided that man with justice, the guy who went to the Godfather, if the law had provided him some kind of justice, had recognized his pain, if the law had recognized his pain, he wouldn't be going to the Godfather. There wouldn't be a need for a Godfather, and he would have been happy because justice has been served. The reason the motherfucker goes to the Godfather, there is a reason for the existence of Godfather, is that this guy feels he's been wronged. There's an injustice happening here. So then there is is it right or wrong? Well, the law basically is written by some people whose values were not the same as the values of this widget maker. The law was written by people whose values are not the same as the guy with the widget maker who goes to the Godfather. Goes back to culture, goes back to values, and what you benefit from. What you benefit from, because not necessarily an evil thing. Benefiting is not necessarily evil, but, you know, it is what it is. If you have, you know, a bunch of very wealthy clients who want the law to be in a certain way, justice be served in a certain way, then those wealthy clients find a way to shape a law which serves them. Again, the butter, which side their bread is buttered on. because they shape the laws so they get more butter on their fucking bread. This is how it has always worked from the time of the trees. Use every means to your advantage. As a living creature which is growing, needs to survive. The need to survive is going to take us to nuclear war that no one survives. This fucking thing is crazy. As we are not trees, we can think. Trees, act, react. They don't think. It's programmed into them. We are not programmed. We can understand that wanting too much is going to may end real badly. I mean, the smaller ones we beat up, and the bigger ones we sort of, start yelling at each other, because if we go to war, nobody's going to stay alive on the planet. Fucking people, we are not trees, folks. My point from all this, when a justice is served, and when a justice is not served, from the perspective of the side of the table who got the shitty side of the stick. When the justice is not served, when they don't see, they see they're being robbed totally. There is no good deal here on the table. There is no you take half, I take half. That deal is not on the table. And one side of the table sees they've lost everything. But because the other side was very strong, won everything. Do you see where I'm going with this? That's where Hamas comes from. That is where, all around Israel, there are these, Hezbollah, Hezbollah, and you can name them whatever the fuck you want. Every day they can have a brand new name. They're mafia. These folks are mafia. Now, from the perspective of the rich guys who set the law, mafia is a bad thing. Because we made the law the way it is so we can benefit. So mafia, which tries to circumvent the law that we made so it benefits us, so if the mafia tries to circumvent that law, then it's a bad thing. Because, it's going against our will. Because we are the rich guys who set the law. We set it that way so we can benefit from it. We're not gonna, allow the mafia or the militia circumvent the law and, try to, get one up on us. That's why the mob is bad. That's why the system is always against these militias and these freedom fighters and these all systems everywhere. Even those who say we love freedom, but they don't tolerate any sort of major branches or major groups who try to seek extrajudicial justice. And it's sort of like, no, this is the law, and we set down the law, and you better follow this law, or we're gonna have problems. And every system, from the shithole in Saudi Arabia to the shithole in Canada, they don't tolerate mobs or militia or these groups, these organizations which try to seek extrajudicial justice. In their view, justice in their view. Again, it all goes back to which side of the table you're sitting and which side the butter is. If the butter is on your side, or if you also have some butter and they have some butter, everything is fine. But if your bread is without butter and they have butter and bread, then it comes down to, okay, we have to go around the table with extrajudicial means, with militias and mobs and these the whole fucking thing turns into a shit show. What is the solution? The solution is, first of all, you can't get rid of the mob. You know, the way they told us that there are no longer any mobs in New York or Los Angeles, they're still, it's still there, but you know, they pay their dues. And I mean, the biggest one was the CIA itself, which distributed cocaine and crack throughout the land in North America, and that's the biggest, you know, mob is the CIA. It's like base, if they want to get rid of you, you disappear. The same thing is with the Russians and their GRU, and you know, they want somebody to disappear, he just drops dead from a from a window. So there is no good guys here, folks. It's like everybody. if if powerful people don't want to see you again, they won't have to. Anyway, the point is this: these groups and many more like even ISIS. I'm no fan of ISIS because I would be their first victim, but but the problem is that they were being invaded by Europeans, by people of European descent, by white people. They were being invaded. These are brown people, Bedouins, they're backwards. They're shit. But you do understand why we leave the shit in Amazon? You know, those shitty tribes, we leave them alone in the fucking Amazon because, and now, you know, from a very far distance, we observed them to learn from you know, what we were, where we came from. They have decided not to touch these motherfuckers. Let them keep their backward ways. That's the thing to do. If you don't recognize the culture, don't try to advance it. Leave them the fuck alone, and from a distance, just observe and study them. Like animals. They are animals, maybe some of them. A large bunch of them, but you don't disturb the animals. For the same reason you don't disturb the Amazon tribes. They have understood that we have to leave these folks alone. And the most we can do is observe them and try to learn from them about where we came from. That's all you have to do. The rest of it is for profits. The right thing to do is leave those folks alone, let them do their thing in their own land. Don't go trying to, you know, claim lands on Earth. You can go to Moon, you can go to Mars, you claim land over there as much as you want. There is more than you want, more than you need. If it's the question of security, if you provide justice, there's no need for these fucking mobs and mobsters and militia and militiamen. If you provide some kind of a justice, if you give them some butter for their fucking bread, these monkeys will go back to gnawing on their bread. But they have to have some butter with that bread. They have to have some rights. They were born in that shithole. They have to be considered as a citizen of that shithole. Not one country trying to push them. These brown folks in Israel are being pushed, and Israel is asking the Europeans living in Israel, the white people living in this land, are asking the neighbors, does anybody want to take these brown people? They are the same brown as you, so you should take them because they're the same shade, and you know they have the same religion or whatever the fuck, and you should take them. Imagine a very strong alien race just lands in Kansas tomorrow morning. Imagine a very strong alien race land in the middle of Kansas tomorrow morning, and then they start, by powerful force, they start pushing the population of the United States to the corners of the land and making some, like a cattle pen with low, high walls in very small corners, and concentrating, pushing all the population in those areas with no resources and no land to produce anything on, and tell them you have to live there. We need the rest of this as an alien race from planet such and such. We can make better use of this land than you monkeys. And they push all humans into these small areas, reservations, refugee camps. Push humans to all these smaller and smaller refugee camps all across the world, including North America. As humans, how do you feel? Would it be justifiable if we say at that point you form Hamas-like militia groups, mafia groups, to try to seek some extrajudicial justice from the aliens? I mean, if you didn't support that, you would be crazy. You would be a traitor to humanity if when all humans are, put into, the way the Europeans put the Jewish people in the ghetto in Europe. Concentrate everybody, jam them into a very small area, and don't supply them with shit. This is how you guys have been doing this to each other. The Europeans did it to the Jewish people, and the Jewish people are doing to the brown people, and the brown people, I guess, have to go do it to the black people. Here we come, Africa. Folks, there is nothing to defend about Hamas. Just like there is nothing to defend about the mafia families of New York. There is nothing to defend. It's a mobster family put together because they themselves have felt injustice. Here's the thing. Do you see the children of Jeff Bezos starting a mob family? Do you see the children of the Hiltons or the grandchildren of Hiltons starting a mob family? You don't see that. Why is that? They're very good kids, very good. Why is that? Because the law that was written provides them with justice. Because it was written by them, by their grandparents. They paid some money to get the law written in a way that provides the rich people with a lot of justice, extra justice, with caviar. The point is this: you don't see any rich people starting from the top and becoming mobsters. No. Why? No need. Or the law is already on our side. Who becomes a mobster? Who becomes, these Crips and Bloods? Who becomes that? The people at the bottom of the fucking society who the law never worked in their favor. Let's put it this way. They didn't have a good education because the laws didn't require for the city, for the government, for the system to provide them with very good education. Never had a really good health care because the system didn't require itself. The system did not require itself. The laws that were written didn't require the system to provide a good education, good health care, good housing. Because the law was written by the rich. And the rich would rather keep their money than provide you, the poor, with the health care and, education, and who the fuck cares? So that's when you push that to the extreme, in which a few people have more money than many countries, and a lot of people are like, The motherfucker is born in a refugee camp and, can only heat himself up with wood. There's a wood stove, and he can only heat himself up with wood when it gets cold. And to to cool down and sleep, he has to go and sleep over his roof because he doesn't have a cooling system inside. So he sleeps on the roof in the summers, and he warms himself with a wooden stove in the winters, eating shit at least at least once a day, maybe sometimes twice a day. He finds some shit to eat, and then you're telling him that this is justice. This is as best we can do. This is the best we can do. This is exactly justice. You see the problem? He doesn't see a justice. You know why? Because he's got a phone. And in his phone, he can see videos of Paris Hilton, drinking $1,000 bottle of wine. What they call, what its value is $1,000, whatever. Its price is $1,000. Who knows about its value? But the point is this. This is what he's seeing. And he's saying he's living on less than $1 a day, and Paris Hilton is living on $10,000 a day, with the rent and the food and the service, and 10,000, 20,000, I don't know. But the point is this: when you have this much discrepancy, and and please don't tell me that this is normal. Nothing of this is normal. It has become normal because, let's put it this way, Paris Hilton appears in a commercial where that Angolan kid, and that Gazan kid, or that South African kids used to see it in their townships, in their refugee camps. Paris Hilton makes money from them because she appears in a commercial which is shown to them to buy a product. So some of the money from the food that they eventually, let's imagine McDonald's, let's imagine Burger King, let's imagine a fast food chain, any, is advertising their food by Paris Hilton. This commercial is made, it's shown. Over there, the fast food chain who's selling a dick to the refugee boy, the hamburger to a refugee boy, that some of that money from that hamburger goes to the corporation that is selling hamburgers. Some of that money goes to the company that provided the advertisement that was shown over there. So money from these shitholes, even money from those shitholes that don't have much to give, still some of their money finds its way into Paris Hilton's pocket. That's how, globalism works, or has been working. Not works. This is how globalism, or I would consider colonialism in the modern age, has worked. That you draw money from each and every individual from across 8 billion people on the planet into very few pockets. Jeff Bezos, basically whatever retail stores that Walmart and Target didn't kill, Jeff Bezos has killed with his Amazon. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's a very good thing. It's a very useful system in which you can choose from between a million products than what you can choose in a physical store, an item from between 100,000 products. You get, you can be very specific with regards to your needs. So Jeff Bezos the system is not wrong, but the system is not just. The people working in retail lost their jobs. The people working in manufacturing a lot of time have lost their jobs to automation. So, and there is no way to fight this. There's no way to fight this. It's not right to fight it. Automation and everything. will be better as long as, here's the thing, as long as the profits, as long as the productivity is somehow distributed evenly. Evenly, or as even as possible within the society. That hasn't happened. The productivity of Israel has been distributed to just the Europeans and North Americans who have recently moved there, within the last 70 years. But the brown people are basically, you know, pinned like sheep, have been put in pens, sheep or cattle, they have been put in pens, smaller and smaller pens with very tall walls, and they have been marginalized and tried to be pushed out of the system. You do understand where the mafia in this case comes from, where the militia comes from, whatever you want to call it.
You're listening to
Hamas, hummus, Hamas, Tamas, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. These are militias that have, you know, they are the people. This is the children of the same people who are living in the shitty condition. Their children go and join gangs, and then gangs become mafia, and one of the mafia becomes, you know, Hamas. And there is, if you eliminate it, there were 5, 6, 7 gangs in New York, and I'm sure there's still a lot of them. Maybe smaller, less organized, but still. Maybe more, you know, uptown. But there's still injustice, and as long as there is injustice, there are certain entities who want to seek justice by extrajudicial means. The solution is provide them justice in a normal fashion. Provide them justice within their normal judicial system. But what if you don't have a normal judicial system? What if you say you have a very religious-based judicial system which says all the rights belong to this group because they are from this faith? Or which is in reality comes down to all the rights within this land belongs to these group because they just came from Europe and they're better than you motherfucker brown skins who used to live here locally. Get the fuck out. All the rights belong to these guys. Do you see how those brown motherfuckers think they have been wronged? They were born in that land. Somebody came and told them they have to leave their house because it's going to be bulldozed in the morning. So they didn't believe their ears, but happened. The next morning a bulldozer came with a bunch of soldiers, pulled them out of their homes, and the bulldozer flattened their home. And they said this land actually belongs to the state of Israel. You move on. Do you have transportation, or you want us to provide you transportation? You're going to Gaza. Do you think the children of this family are going to sit by and say, look, as they're growing up? The guy was like 6 years old, his brother was 10, the other brother was 15, when they were evicted from their town, village, city, inside Israel. They were told that you're not welcome here. The motherfucker was born there. All the minerals in his bones are from there. How you're going to tell him that you need to evict because this land doesn't belong to you? The land has been in his family for like 6 generations. All his bones and the bones of his father had the minerals from that land. What are you talking about? And you want this motherfucker not to grow up with a feeling of injustice? And as soon as he can join one of these mafia groups and gangs, join those gangs to, you know, to seek justice, or justice from his perspective, from his side of the table? His bread didn't get any butter. His bread didn't get any butter. What do you want me to do? He feel he's been wronged. Killing him, yeah, you can do it. But now his second brother, his younger brother, now he feels more injustice. Now you killed his brother too. First you ran him out of his village, and now his brother was in a gang seeking justice for their people. You killed him too. Now, as far as the second brother is concerned, you have two cross against you. You killed the second brother. Now, as far as the third brother is concerned, you have three strikes against you. Do you see this thing going anywhere good? Yeah, the same thing happened in New York. They arrested the gang leaders, and they prosecuted them. But do you think the gangs have gone away? I don't think so. They just have become more civilized and much more quiet in the background. They haven't gone away. Jeffrey Epstein himself was a gang leader. He had a prostitution gang, and he had some of the wealthiest and well-recognized people as clients. I mean, Mr. Bill Clinton as his client was dealing with a gang leader. Jeffrey Epstein was really, in reality, he was a pimp, a gang leader. It's in his own way, a Manson kind of figure. I think it was Jeffrey Manson. A person who was able to influence a lot of females into providing sex to very influential people. That's a kind of a gang, and the security agencies were providing him with all the muscle that he needed. From the Mossad to the CIA to the FBI, they provided the muscle for his gang. Official gangs, gangs that are, part of the system. So again, we go back to who's a gang, who's a militia. Is the bigger army is called an army, and the smaller army is called a militia. An organized army is good, and a disorganized army is bad. A guerrilla army is bad. The solution is simple. The solution to Hamas is, but you won't get anywhere by killing them, because as I said, the first brother, second brother, third brother, you just keep generation after generation, you turn them more fanatic, because you keep serving them with more injustice on top of their old injustice. So by serving people more injustice, you're not going to stop this situation. When has more injustice resulted into a more stable environment? To create a more stable environment, you have to provide justice. Justice not the way you see it, because the way I see it, I want all the butter. No, not justice the way you see it, justice the way they see it too. Justice the way a neutral body sees it. Terrorism, okay, terrorism, call it terrorism. At the beginning of the, establishment of State of Israel actually itself had a bunch of militia, same thing, mafia militia, for the same kind of purpose, seeking extrajudicial justice from the locals when the locals, attacked back or whatever. But the point is this line between who's a terrorist, who's not a terrorist. Why not? It seems to me that if it's an organized army, whatever they do is not considered as terrorism. But if it's a disorganized army, if it's a militia and they're small, whatever they do uh, is terrorism. It's sort of like in a large scale is no longer terrorism, it's just war. Anyway, the point is this. The solution, I don't see it, and I don't think anybody can see a solution by saying that we are going to solve this problem by destroying Hamas. Or Hamas and Hamas and Hezbollah this and Hezbollah that. That's not the solution. You're just making more enemies of their own brothers and their cousins and their distant cousin, a second cousin, a third cousin, a fourth. Oh, fuck. In order to stop Hamas, just literally stop them, is if you provide some kind of justice to the brown people of those shitholes, and try to open the ghettos, let them go back to their homes, open the ghettos. And I'm telling this to my Jewish friends, my fellow Jews. If you open their ghettos, these Gaza is the same ghetto that the fucking Europeans put the Jewish people in. The same thing. It's ghettos, a concentration of people in a small piece of land where they can't do much with themselves, and there is no income because there is not much economic activity because you're blockaded from all sides. Ghetto. The well-known ghettos in Germany and Poland and fuck. The same thing is happening to these brown motherfuckers in West Asia. Open the ghettos, let these poor bastards back in, and use them as labor, use them as cannon fodder, not cannon fodder, use them as labor, use them as, they have a lot of smart people, just let them live, and Hamas will go away, dissolve within the population as soon as you turn around. Provide some justice for these bastards, and Hamas will dissolve. Just go away tomorrow. If that little kid who you have 3 strikes, as far as he's concerned, you have 3 strikes. If that small kid tomorrow morning sees that he and his mother and his father are back in their farm or their village or whatever, and they're receiving some kind of services from the government, and they're back into their whatever they were doing, I think all your 3 strikes goes away as the state of Israel. All the 3 strikes goes away. He feels justice has been accomplished. I don't think if you send him to Cairo, he's going to feel the same. He is going to feel more displaced. That, the third brother who saw his 2 brothers die as part of the Hamas mob, they are part of their activity, they died, he's still pissed off. And if you push him into Cairo or Jordan, his resentment is not going to go away. It's going to get more because now he's been displaced 3-4 times by that time. And then this funny thing is, this Europeans I see on Twitter, left and right, they make comments that, what the fuck is going on? Why are these people in Europe protesting for Hamas and protesting for Palestine? What the hell is going on? These guys are not of us. In the capital, in Europe, in the capital of United States, in Europe, why these people are for Hamas? Well, folks, these are the same brown people that you pigskins have displaced. So they feel their pain. What part of this is hard to understand, Miss Greenie? Miss Greenie, I saw a tweet that you are, dead against these Palestinian loving, Hamas loving cocksuckers. Yes, I understand. I saw your tweet, but the point is this: they're brown. You see, they're here because they've been displaced from their home, either by your sanctions, your embargoes, your wars, your indirect wars, your direct wars, your covert coups, and your overt attacks. Whatever it was, 90% of these brown motherfuckers have been displaced by you, by your system. So now they're here, and now they feel the pain of those people that you're trying to displace again by supporting an European government in Asia. That's what it is. Israel is an European government in Asia. If you don't know it, please pick up a map. Whoever has an issue with what I'm saying, if you don't know it, please pick up a map and trace the border between Asia and Europe on the map. And you see that where Israel is Asia. But everybody who's in charge over there are of European descent. European or European descent. I'm sure everybody in charge, everybody over there has a second passport, which is European. 90%, more than 99, almost 100% of Israelis have a second passport, which is European. European or North American. Almost 100%. I can assure you. What do you call that? People who also have a European passport administering a piece of land in Asia. What do you call that? Occupation, colonialism, a colony formed by occupation of the brown people's land. And then you're wondering, first of all, why Hamas? Hamas is bad. Why it's formed? Why it's formed? It shouldn't exist. Okay, fine. It doesn't exist. Tomorrow, another group is going to form from those poor bastards who are living in a ghetto-like condition, because that, and their perspective is that we should seek justice for our parents. A bunch of young kids are tomorrow just kill all of the Hamas people and everybody else who you know who's has any kind of bad activity tomorrow morning. All of them kill. Okay, fine. Give it 6 months. Those 14, 15-year-old, 16-year-olds whose brother, father, whatever were part of these mobs and militia who were killed, they within 6 months to a year they pick up arms with the objective of seeking justice for their people. Another group is formed with another name. The problem is the injustice that they feel. They have been pushed off their lands. The problem is not who's arming them. The problem is the resentment. Can you fix the resentment? The only way you can fix their resentment is to allow them back on their land. You fix the resentment, you allow them, these brown people, to go back there to their land and become part of the society in that country, Israel, and become if that state becomes a secular state tomorrow with secular court system, and allow these brown people to also have some kind of representation in the government, everything will be dandy. Everything will be dandy. I can assure you. Because nobody feels that kind of injustice anymore. That's the solution. You're trying to run a, a, an European colony in Asia by pushing the Asians out of their land and declaring a very, a very European country in Asia, declaring its independence of a very European country in Asia, and you want the locals to just say, yeah, of course, whatever, take it. Here, you want my sister too? You got my land. Do you want my sister too? How about my mother? You you really expect that kind of reception? You want them to love you because you push them off their land? Are you what are you folks smoking? What are you folks smoking?